I'm RJ, and this is an axe yard. Now you might be wondering, what's an axe yard? Well, I'll tell you. So, it's roped off in all my directions, except for that one because there's a fence there, but I'm blocked off from society in every direction. Social distancing. Not really. This is an axe yard. It's very dangerous for people to walk in here because we have tools like this. Now, this is quite sharp and quite large, quite heavy and quite deadly. If you didn't already know, it's called an axe. Michael, what do you have to say before you get inside the axe yard?
Permission to enter.
Yes, your permission is granted. Now, speaking of people in the axe yard, you're only allowed 2 people in the axe yard at once. Now, say someone else was to try to get in. Now, usually that would mean that the person that's in there for the longest has to get out. But in this case, there's no one else trying to get in here, and we don't have to let anyone out. Now, we'll start talking about the tools inside the axe yard that you use. This here is a hatchet. Now, yeah, I'm going to cut some wood now. I can't cut any wood anymore because Michael here is in my safety circle. Now you might be wondering, RJ, what the heck is a safety circle? Well, I'll show you. Now, if you hold this hatchet like this and you spin in this direction, blade away, Michael here is in my safety circle. So I'm going to kindly ask Michael to please step out of my safety circle. Michael, may you please step out of my safety circle? Thank you, Michael. Now, the way to cut wood with a hatchet is you first have to angle the hatchet at a 45-degree angle to the left, or to the right if you're a lefty, but to the left mainly for most people because they're righties. Now, you could put your foot up on the piece of wood if it's larger than this, but it isn't, so I'm just going to put my foot here so that I'm kneeling and it's comfortable. So, first you're going to want to take one big swing like that, and then another big swing like that, and then you're going to switch your directions every 2 to 3 swings like this. Now, make sure your wood isn't like dangling all over the place because that isn't good. You want to keep it in one area. So if it starts going out of place like it's over here and I can't cut it anymore, then you're going to want to move it back in place just so you don't get out of rhythm. It could also be dangerous when you're out of form. Now, when I'm done with tools, they're set up on this wall, or in a bucket, or on a tree. For safety purposes, so people don't step on it, I'm going to grab the axe now. Now, something I have to emphasize is that when you're using the hatchet or the saw, you can have 2 people in the axe yard, but if you're using the axe, you can only have 1. Now, the axe is quite different from using the hatchet because, obviously, it's much longer. Now, the parts are the same because you still have the base of the hatchet. It's just a longer hatchet. So, you've got your head, you've got your butt, you've got your handle. Now, you're ready to axe, but you have to get your standing correct. So, you have to put your hand either here or here, depending on what type of axe you're using. You can put your hand up. I would recommend it be able to slide all the way down to where your other hand is, so I'm going to put my hand here. So, now, you're going to put it over your shoulder and then swing, but also while you swing, you're going to move your hand down to where your other hand is, like a baseball bat. And like a baseball bat, your hand is going to be here at the start of the swing. Like this. Now, if it gets stuck, just put your foot up there and try and grab it out. Now, if it gets extra stuck, start wiggling it like this. And it will soon come loose depending on how deep you went inside the wood. Now, final main tool in an axe yard is called a saw. Now, most of you probably know what a saw is, but it's a thin piece of metal going all the way over to here with teeth on the bottom so that when you go to cut, you have to go like this. Now also you have to do it swiftly, otherwise you're going to get your teeth jammed on the way back. and you want to use the whole saw or it's going to take a very long time. So I'll demonstrate like this. I'm not going fast enough. Now, if I was going fast enough, it would look something like this. Now see how I've created a notch here? That's where the other tools would come in handy if I could not get it deep enough with the other tools. There's also many notches from when I use my axe and my hatchet. Now the hatchet's going to look like this when you mark it. The axe is going to be very deep but very subtle, and then the saw is going to be almost invisible, but it's still there. It's a very thin mark because it's a very thin tool. You might be wondering, RJ, you've used this piece of wood, but what about this piece of wood? Well, this is where your pocket knife comes in handy. Now, this is a side tool for the axe yard, for you can do this in many different places when you're not around people. Once again, you have to demonstrate safety circle when you do these types of things. Now, you could be sitting or anything really, but my preferred way of whittling is put your thumb on the back of the blade and have your blade just glide across the wood. Another thing is, if your knife can bend while it's out, that isn't legal. Don't do that. No. It must have a locking blade. It has to be able to lock. If it doesn't lock, then that's not legal. Most importantly is the second way. This is for deeper cuts, but you're just going to take your left thumb or your right thumb, depending on if you're a lefty or righty, and you're going to take the edge of the blade and you're just going to mash it down there, and then you can get shorter but deeper holes for usually whittling. And as you can see here, I've created a much deeper hole compared to where my other marks are. Now, when it comes to sharpening your blade, you're going to want to use two things. Now, you could just use a sharpening stone, but some people prefer using knife oil to make the knife slide easier. You could just use the normal stone and your knife. Those are the two main things you need. Now, you're going to set the stone down, and you're going to take your knife, and you're going to make a little C with the blade of your knife, like so. Now my blade's already quite sharp, so I don't really need to do that too much. And the only time you should ever cut towards yourself, I would know, is when you are doing the other side of the blade. Now you want to be very careful and precise with how you do this. So you want to make sure that you're not doing fast motions, because you could just collide with yourself or anyone else standing next to you, but there shouldn't be anyone standing next to you when you sharpen your blade. Now, there's going to be little metal particles. You could just wipe that off like that. Make sure you don't cut yourself, obviously. I'm a bit stupid, so I probably could. And then you're ready to whittle again. Well, now, sometimes you get bored of whittling and you don't want to whittle anymore, but this isn't your knife. This isn't your knife. Obviously, this is my knife, but sometimes you're going to be borrowing your knife because you forgot your knife at home, or you don't have a knife. You don't have your own pocket knife. So you're going to kindly give it back to your friend. Now, when you give it back to your friend, you're going to want to make sure that they know you're giving it back to them. So you want to say their name, "Hey, Michael," and then you want to ask them, "Hey, do you want your knife back?" In this case, they want their knife back. So you're going to kindly hand it to them, and when they say, "Got it," then you can release it. Same when receiving a knife. It was very dangerous to just out of the blue receive your knife, because you don't know if it's open or not if you're not looking. Got it. Thank you, Michael. Well, I think we should head back over to the axe yard now. The main reason an axe yard is used for is not for fun. Now, that is a good reason to use it, but it's not the main reason. The main reason you're going to use your axe yard is because you need wood for your fire. Now, this is a very good log, but it's a bit wet, so I want to shave off, and obviously you do this with something a bit easier to do, like a big stick instead. But as you can see, I'm just shaving some little spots so that it's not too wet for the fire. Now, another thing is, when you're cutting with a hatchet, you're gonna have these little mulch chops come out. Like these little squares of wood, they're gonna come out. And you're gonna wonder what you're gonna do with those. Well, you can just throw them in the fire as little chips. And there's another thing, which this is mainly for fire, called a feather stick. I'm not going to demonstrate it because it takes a bit long, but you just have to shave off a little bit of stick and leave it there as a little tinder like this. See those two little shavings? You're gonna have that all over your stick. And this was Axe Yard Safety with RJ for the Totin Chip.